Everybody, welcome into the high noon stream for a Friday Labor Day weekend. That's right. It's the big Labor Day weekend kickoff party. If I was still doing radio, we'd have a lot of advertisers that would want us to pump this up, but not here. Here, it's just you and it's just me. We gather every day. We talk about the day's news. We give you a nice little rundown of all the topics that are happening, things people are buzzing about. Additionally, the first part of the show, we like to go back in time and we look at some of the events that shaped this day throughout history. We talk a little bit about them, a little bit of kind of history fun, I guess is how you call it. Then we do some birthdays and then some mornings. And when we're done with all of that stuff, then we get into the hot topics and current events and headlines and breaking news and all that stuff of the day. We've got a very active chat room. Chatters are a lot of fun. Come on in, grab, as I like to say, grab your yoga mats, your futons, your bean bags, form your soul circle of life. Join hands and let's all move forward over the next couple of hours with positivity, a resistance to cynicism, and an overall good view of the world. Let's do that. What do you say? All right. Hey, today's show needs to be today's show's executive producers, the people who tipped yesterday and helped us, get up and do this show this morning. A couple people, let me stop down. Let me take a moment on a couple of these people because they need to be mentioned. By the way, I see everybody coming into the chat room. I see one of you already in the chat room. First of all, let me tell you about Mama B. I talk about her a lot. She's in the chat room. She hangs out. She's awesome. She was everybody, every kid in the neighborhood. She was like their second mom. You had your own mom, and then you had her. And she was my friend Tom, or is my friend Tom's mom. And here's the thing about her. Now, you might describe her as a cool mom. She was the cool mom. But I think that brings up the wrong ideas about what it was. And I know this because I also had a cool mom. I also had the mom that did this. My mom didn't allow us to be drinking in the house while underage and having parties. She didn't allow that. But the cool mom thing, at least in my neighborhood, and how I think of Mama B, is sort of the same way that my mom did. When there was a kid in the neighborhood that was having some rough stuff, whatever it was, I hate you, Dad, that kind of thing. They always had a bed at my house. Mom, can so-and-so? Yes, he can stay here. Mama Beller was just like that. Oh my God, Mama Beller and her sorely missed husband, Big Johnny. Their house was where kids felt safe. You didn't go there and party. You didn't go there and disrespect it, but you felt safe. So when I see Mama Beller dropping a little something into the toll, helping the show out, man, that touches me. She's just such a wonderful woman, and that's just amazing. So thank you so much. Mama B is here producing the show today. Now let me tell you about Leslie. Leslie's one of the Queen Leslies. We have a bunch of Leslies in the chat room. We did at one point. We lost one of them. She's mad at me. She'll get over it. We love each other. We're good. Leslie C. has been supporting this damn show every month consistently since it began. The shows cannot go on without the actions of somebody like Leslie C. So thank you. They are our two executive producers of today's show, Leslie C. and, of course, Mama B. All right, let's get started. Here's what we do here on this show. Well, I told you what we do. We run through all the day's events, and I give you hot takes, and we play in the chat room, and we have a nice little couple of hours here. I attempt to do this in what's known as a stream of consciousness style. What does that mean? It means very little prep about what I'm about to say, no breaks, no stops. We don't do weather or traffic or have commercial breaks or play music. No, it's just the next 2 hours of me doing this. A big fat middle-aged narcissist just blowing wad all over the day's news. That's what we're going to do. If you're down with it, by the way, hey, are you guys excited? It's Labor Day weekend. I love it. You want to know why I love it? It's the end of summer. You know why I love it as the end of summer? Because it's when for at least the next couple of weeks after Labor Day, people will get back to doing business. And there are no excuses. There are no people. See, people don't understand this, but when you're like a hustler, like the group of people that I hang around with, there are certain times of the year where you can't get meetings with people. And the summer, basically anytime after like June 1st, you're screwed. It's like every meeting gets, I love that. Hey, tell you what, let's talk a little bit more after summer, after Labor Day. We'll get back together. We'll get in. And then you get like after Labor Day till Thanksgiving to like the Monday before Thanksgiving. Everything shuts down the Monday before Thanksgiving. Everything on the Monday before Thanksgiving, everything starts to be, let's get back together after Thanksgiving. And if you don't get them that first week after Thanksgiving, boom, it's over. Everything is, let's circle back after first of the year. So anyway, that's why I'm excited. It's end of summer. Got the kid this weekend. We're going to go do some lake thing. Although, listen to this. I can't even go to I'm not upset. I'm pretending that was performative because that's not really my emotion on it. So I guess we're going to do, we can't go out Labor Day. I got my kid Labor Day weekend, but it's like I don't have him Labor Day. Don't have him Labor Day because he's got football practice at like super early in the morning. And I'm like, what about families that, check this out. I go, what about families that like were taking their kids out of town? And my kid goes, sounds like those families don't play for a winning program. All right, I get it, kiddo. That's cool. So I'm totally cool with that. I mean, it's fine. So he's going to be here for a couple of days. I think I'm probably going to take him home Sunday night instead of, I don't want to drive him to practice at 6 a.m. It's at 6 a.m. And my whole Sunday night is shot at that point. Because I go to bed at like 11. You know what I mean? It's like, eh. All right, so that's my weekend. I hope you guys have a fun Labor Day weekend coming up. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to do big things tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. We'll cram that lost extra day into. It's not a lost extra day because he's doing something that's important to him, which is football. And I think sounds like those families don't come from winning programs. Okay. All right. It is the High Noon Report. I am Pugs Moran. It is the first day of September, year of our Lord 2023. Welcome one, welcome all. September 1st, I'll have you know, is the 244th day of the year. There's 121 more of these left in the year. So get them New Year's Eve plans started. Here, let's do this segment. The first segment that we like to run through here on the show is a segment that we call Erstwhile on This Day. And here's how we do Erstwhile on This Day. We run through all of the events that have happened on this day throughout history. We're not going to run through all of them because a lot of stuff's happened in all these years. I don't know how many years. I just went 2023. What does that mean? How many years? 2020. That's how many. 2023 years. At least since we started counting that. A lot has happened in those. I picked the ones that I think are maybe relevant, maybe predict, maybe show a pattern, or participate in a pattern or a rhythm that will play out as we move through this bit. That may help us predict what's happening in the coming hours of today. I don't know. That rarely happens, but it sounds good. On this day in 1939, during World War II, Germany and Slovakia invade Poland. Pugs, what are you talking about that for? That's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. This is the start of World War II in Europe. This is when it began. On this day in 1939, Hitler rolled them tanks right into Poland. And that was a line too far. On this day also in 1939, while Hitler's tanks were doing that, J. Robert Oppenheimer, one of the biggest box office stars of the summer, J. Robert Oppenheimer and his student, Hartland Snyder is his name. I hate him. I don't even know him. I hate him. I hate the pair. Whoever would name a baby Heartland couldn't possibly raise it decent. I just don't believe that. They sound like they sound, oh, Heartland. It sound, anyway, on this day, that dude and J. Robert Oppenheimer published the Oppenheimer-Snyder model, which is proving for the first time in contemporary physics how a black hole could develop. I don't know what that means, but it was Oppenheimer, and it's like, hey, maybe he did other things. So let's check it out. On this day in 1982, the United States Air Force Space Command is founded. Yeah. Okay, 1982. This is that. Look, we don't do politics on the show. We don't get divisive. I don't want you to know how I vote. That's why we've got a curtain. We got a curtain for privacy, so I don't have to tell people how I vote. But this is funny. This is funny because, we got Space Force now, but we already had Space Command. And it was just like a branding switch. It was just, the former president, he does it. I mean, this is part of his business model, with his buildings. He would go, wildly successful business here that he created. All of these buildings around the world that have the Trump name on it, that means something. There are people that means something to. So it's like a good branding thing. I mean, It was different before 2016, before everything got politicized, but the Trump name used to mean something. So in his business model, what he did was he would just take buildings that were having trouble getting tenants, and he would pitch the owners of the building, and they would put Trump on it. It would become suddenly a Trump partnership building, and that would theoretically help with, I don't know European real estate, but all over the world he did this. And he did it with Space Command. Like Space Command was already a thing, but he wanted to be like, I started a new branch of the military. And he just took his name and put it on it. And his name in this case was Space Force. But Space Command already existed, and it was under the Air Force. You didn't need a whole nother fourth. It's like, in fact, it's so much already existed that all the same people that were in charge at Space Command are now in charge at Space Force. They just got new stationery. That's it. That's it. But that is a business model that made a lot of money for Trump over the years. That idea of selling his name, because he had worked so hard to build up his brand throughout. That's the thing that I really don't understand. I'm like, if you are looking neutrally at Donald Trump, the human being, as they've progressed through life, the Trump brand used to mean, like in the 80s and the 90s, it meant something. It meant glamour. It meant the absolute highest standards. It doesn't mean that anymore. I mean, there are so many people who are first of all, it's been politicized. So you lose half of the country wanting to buy anything with your, Anyway, moving on. Doesn't matter. I don't want to look, we don't do politics. I don't talk about him. I don't talk about the current guy, former guy, current guy. That's what the current guy. Why? If you're just joining us, because everybody that thinks one is better than the other is an idiot. There's a whole bunch of us in the middle who are just going, what? That's who I want you to be. That's who I'm hoping will hang out with me every day. And it seems like we've got that for the most part, except for like Adam, Reyna, and Byron. But you need those. You need the extremes. You need the extremes to coexist so that we know where the middle is. And that's where we are. I can look at Adam Reyna and go, that dude's nuts. I can look at Byron and go, that dude's nuts. So I know that I'm somewhere in the middle. And, good barometer. Another reason to hang out in our chat room every day, Monday through Friday at noon. On this day in 1982, the we already did that. That's the Space Command was founded in 82. Not 2010. 1982 is when, the first. On this day in 1983, during the Cold War, Korean Airlines Flight 007. I always thought that was such a wild name for this flight. Korean Airlines Flight 007 is shot down by a Soviet jet fighter after the commercial aircraft strayed into Soviet airspace, killing all 269 people on board, including congressman. All right, take a deep breath. Congressman Lawrence McDonald. Okay, so here's my problem with this. When was this? This was 1983. So I was 14. I get this one. I get the facts around the Russians shooting down the Korean airliner conflated or confused with America shooting down the Iranian airliner. They both seem to have happened around the same time. No. All right, moving on. Bad thing. But, this would happen again. You remember when Russian troops shot down that Malaysian airliner a couple of summers ago? Like 10 years ago. Like during the first time the Russians tried to take, where is Sevastopol? Crimea. The first time they tried to take Crimea. I knew Crimea. I knew Sevastopol, but not Crimea. All right. So the first time they tried to take Crimea, Russian troops misidentified a Malaysian airliner filled with vacationers, and they shot it down. That was just a couple of years ago. So we've done this from time to time, but this was a big one. 1983, Korean Airlines Flight 007 was shot down. On this day in 1985, the wreckage of the Titanic is first discovered. Did you know that? I figured they knew where it was the whole time. I guess I didn't realize 1985 is when they found it. Oh, did they open a can of worms? Geez, just leave it alone, would ya? God, isn't there enough video? I mean, do you really need to go? Leave those people alone. It's a graveyard. I happen to agree with the stance of the British and American governments back in 1919 when this thing happened. The stance of the British and American governments was that is sacred ground. Those people, a lot of souls perished. There's a lot of remains down there. That is to be treated like a graveyard. Not a looky-loo festival for like rich dudes in their homemade hand-built submarines. No, that's not what it is. Leave it alone. Those people died. They have families. My God, where is your humanity? Look, on this, well, I guess, they do charge for tours of concentration camps. So, I mean, it's a sliding scale as to what is morally acceptable. Never forget an exit through the gift shop. Let's see here. On this day in 2004, the Beslan school siege begins when armed terrorists take school children and school staff hostage in North Ossetia. That's in Russia. By the end of the siege, 3 days later, more than 385 people are dead, including hostages, other civilians, security personnel, and terrorists. Okay, so let me spend a little moment on this because I remember this, and I remember watching this very, very closely when it was unfolding live. I think we covered it on the radio. I think we talked a lot about it, as a matter of fact. So here has been my consistent take on this, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I have now been very public on my feelings about Vladimir Putin and his hatred for America and his just deep-seated desire to see us fail and see us fall into chaos and destroy ourselves with our stupid democracy and all that. That's really how he feels. So don't let my well-known opinion of Vladimir Putin cloud any of this, okay? 2004, we weren't really sure what Putin was. I mean, he seemed like, but this was one of those instances where I think reasonable people went, okay, this is what we're dealing with. All right, so let's put it this way. Here's the situation. They got a school with like 400 kids in it. They got a school with like 400 kids in it. And suddenly there are armed gunmen taking this school, right? They are holding these kids hostage, and they are saying, unless our demands are met, we are going to kill these children. So if you are the government, if you are the agency that is in charge of this and is responsible for whatever is to happen next, you've got two choices. And the choices are, what is the priority? You've got to first decide what the priority is. Is the priority saving the lives of these children? Or is the priority making sure that terrorists know that we don't deal with terrorists? That's the conundrum. I'm always quick to cast my moral judgments on others, not personally, but people on the world stage. I don't know. My moral sort of barometer goes a little hinky here. But ultimately, I come down on the side of these are kids, and humanity, I think, dictates, just base human instinct dictates that we do what we can to save our kids. You know what? If terrorists think they can do this, we save the kids, and then we go full on war with the terrorists. Then we just go and hunt every single one of them down. We'll show them that we're not afraid of them. But in this particular instance, no, we're not going to free all your political prisoners. And no, we're not going to allow you to kill these kids. There's got to be another option. So after 3 days, this is when I first saw in Putin a real scary dude on the world stage. Because he prioritized two. He prioritized his image and Russia's image at badasses who aren't going to bow to terrorists. And it's not necessarily bow to terrorists. Maybe that's not the right word. But even negotiate with terrorists. They refused to even negotiate in this situation. He chose to kill everybody. He sent his army in. They killed everybody. You know those idiots, those people you see sometimes, and they're usually half drunk and unshaven, and they've got shirts on that say, kill them all, let God sort them out. That's a fucking dark thing to say. And it's an even weirder thing for you to be walking around in. That's a monster's credo. Kill them all and let God sort them out? F you, man. You're a bad human. That is what that's kind of what Putin thought. And all those kids died. All those moms were alone. All those families mourned. It's just, didn't even negotiate. That was the first time when I saw in Vladimir Putin as a leader on the world stage, as a powerful guy, where I went, okay. And then in the years since, we've seen just countless examples of him doing things. But man, that was a horrible, horrible thing. They didn't even try. They didn't even try to negotiate. They just wiped the place clean. Didn't even consider saving the kids. That was never the priority. So I don't know. What is the moral dilemma there? It's a difficult one. And reasonable people can have that conversation. But that conversation was never held because they just sent in the special forces and you got 3 days to let them out. And then they didn't do it. And then they sent them in and all the kids died. All the kids died. People, they exploded bombs and stuff. So people in the area were, like, shops were destroyed. It was crazy. You remember, I'm sure you remember. It was a big story. On this day in 2004, on this day in 2008, during the Iraq War, the United States Armed Forces transfers control of the Anbar province to the Iraqi Armed Forces. It's 2008. I don't know. What is Iraq? Is Iraq our friend? We gave them control back. You would think that we would be friends now, right? They don't seem like an altogether friendly nation. Or do they just, I don't know. Are they? What's going on with Iraq? That's a question. Special report. What's going on with Iraq? I mean, what's going on? There was ISIS a couple of years ago, but like the government there, do we talk to them? I know we're bad with Iran, but I don't know what our situation is with Iraq. All right, that's going to do it for Erstwhile on this day. It is time to play our game. Wanna, wanna, wanna. They say it's their birthday. Wanna, wanna, wanna. I have to take them at their word. Born on this day in 1866. Oh, look at him. Gentleman Jim Corbett. He was one of the finest. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Gentleman Jim Corbett was a boxer. He was a boxer, and he was famous for defeating John L. Sullivan. This is one of the earliest mega fights, one of the earliest super fights. The entire world was interesting in John L. Sullivan versus Gentleman James Corbett. Today in combat sports, there is an often used saying, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. James L. Corbett is the origin of that phrase. He was the man who beat the man. He defeated John L. Sullivan at a time where nobody thought anybody could beat John L. Sullivan. Gentleman Jim Corbett. Hey! Oh, also, Gentleman Jim Corbett, it should be noted, basically invented the modern form of what is a professional boxer. Because up until this point, they were highly paid. John L. Sullivan was one of the biggest stars in the world. But John L. Sullivan was a chain smoker, and he fought drunk. You know, you get drunk and just, they had buckets of beer in the corners. It was crazy. Gentleman Jim Corbett, he was more, and the guy, he's born on this day, he was the first guy to actually train for fights. He was the first guy to actually do road work. He was the first guy to actually work out in a gym. He laid the template for every other professional and successful boxer that came after him. Gentleman Jim Corbett, born on this day in 1866. The man who beat the man. That's him. Born on this day in 1922, Yvonne DiCarlo. Lily Munster, the wife in the Munsters. I know what you're thinking. Pugs, you're not necessarily a goth guy. And I'm like, no, as a matter of fact, I'm not attracted to the goth thing at all. But I am attracted to Yvonne DiCarlo when she wasn't Lily Munster. Woo! She was a good-looking lady. Born on this day in 1922, Yvonne DiCarlo. Here's a weird one. If you were watching yesterday or listening or however you do this, I don't know. I'm not the boss of you. On this day yesterday, we talked about a man who died. A man who died on this day yesterday. So a guy who died on August the 31st. That man was Rocky Marciano. It's his birthday. He died the day. He was probably traveling to a birthday celebration for himself. Isn't that weird? I mean, it's weird. It's weird when you die on your birthday. But I think it's weirder when you die a day before your birthday. I think it's weirder because you didn't get to the full, you didn't fit, or you perfectly end. Perfect amount of years is basically how I look at it. Like if you die on your birthday, then you're a perfect amount of years plus 1 day. No, I don't know. Anyway, Rocky Marciano died the day before his birthday. That's the way you should go. Born on this day in 1933, Ann Richards, American educator and politician, 45th governor of Texas. For those of you out there that think Texas has been red forever. No. I remember I was a young man in my 20s when Texas was blue, when Ann Richards was running this state. And guess what? You people loved her. I didn't live here then, so I can't say. But you people loved her. She was popular, and she was very popular around the country, and she was a big, powerful person. And she put Texas politically in Washington on the map after not having even been a thought in Washington, D.C. since Johnson, retired. Ann Richards was a big national power player. Now that's changed. Pretty much every Texas governor is a national power player, and they make themselves much. But there was this gap, and Ann Richards brought it back. She was a blue governor of the state of Texas. So I would just caution all of my conservative friends and my Republican friends here in Texas. You're all there. It ain't never going to go blue. I'm like, dude, how old are you? It used to be blue. Two of your most prominent national politicians are Democrats. Lyndon Baines Johnson and Ann Richards. What are you talking about? Now, I know Ted Cruz in later years has become pretty big. Cornyn isn't. Cornyn's quiet. Cornyn is like an old school Texas state politician. He's a senator. He represents us in Washington. He's kind of quiet, you know? Ted Cruz, not so quiet. Point is this. Ann Richards was born on this day in 1933. Also, her daughter is some abortion spokeswoman, something or other. I don't know. Her daughter's kind of a big deal in the pro-choice movement or whatever. Kind of got a thing for her. I think she's kind of attractive. I'm like, hey, Ann Richards' daughter is kind of right up my speed. Kind of like, I mean, you know, and I'm not talking about what she's saying. I'm just judging her on her aesthetic, on her whole look and all that. Kind of like her. Find her attractive. Born on this day in 1939, Lily Tomlin, a national treasure. Damn right. Lily Tomlin's funny. Lily Tomlin. Try to think of like from my earliest day. I mean, I remember all the adults when I was like 4, 5, 6, and Lily Tomlin would come on TV. I don't know, doing one of her comedy sketches. All the adults in my family loved her. So I was like, okay, you know, I got ginned up for Lily Tomlin. And so, you know, because of that, I've always liked her. I'm like, from the time I was early, I'm only 4 and I don't understand any of this, but these people are laughing. She's got to be awesome. So I became that. I don't know. What do you say about Lily Tomlin? She's like, I don't know what she is. Is she a stand-up comedian? No. She's a comic performer. Yes. She does characters. That's what she was famous for. She dabbled in movies. She acts when she wants. She does what she wants. She's one of those like elder statesmen, one of those revered elder statesmen of Hollywood at this point. Happy birthday to you, Lily Tomlin, born on this day in 1939. Born on this day in 1946. Here's a guy in my lifetime I've done a complete 180 on. That's right. Barry Gibb. Excuse me, Sir Barry Gibb is having a birthday today. Sir Barry Gibb, born on this day in 1949. He was, of course, the handsome one in the Bee Gees. And you know who I'm talking about? Because the Bee Gees were two incredibly ugly brothers flanking their incredibly handsome brother. It's weird. It just looked weird. Like there was Barry, Robin, and Maurice. Wait. Which one is this? Wait a second. Hold on. I'm not sure which one it is. Hold on. Let me see this. Barry Gibb, 70s. Because one of them looked like a bird. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he's the handsome one. Barry Gibb's the handsome one. Kind of looked like a werewolf, but he was a handsome werewolf. And then you had, I think, Robin Gibb. Robin looked like a bird. Robin looked like a sickly bird, sticking his head out of the nest. And then there was the other guy who looked like a member of the Muppet Show band. He was bald with a beard. He looked like the guy, that was me as a kid, basically putting the Bee Gees in a box. Handsome guy, sickly bird, Muppet Show. That was it. However, as a kid, I didn't appreciate the Bee Gees. Didn't appreciate them at all. As a matter of fact, I was programmed by my generation or whatever it was to think that was all garbage, that was all nonsense. Then I became a grown-up, and then I started just learning about music, not necessarily appreciating it, but learning about it, like listening to people who know about music, talk about music, and watching documentaries and watching things. And man, I got to tell you, the Bee Gees were revolutionary. The Bee Gees, that 4 on the floor drum, which became it is the foundation of disco. I mean, you can, if you want to blame somebody for truly popularizing disco, it's the Bee Gees. It's the Bee Gees in the way they shifted. When they shifted to start doing that kind of music, it wasn't like they were capitalizing on a trend that was sweeping the country. Disco was in gay clubs and black clubs, and that was it. There wasn't every suburb in America within 2 years of the release of the Bee Gees' new image, which became this disco image, every strip mall in America had a disco club in 1978. And that was the Bee Gees. And that was a cultural revolution. Now, you can blame them for that if you want, because maybe you don't like that cultural revolution. It seemed very narcissistic, very self-indulgent, very, thoughtless, but whatever. People were having fun. But musically, I've rediscovered the Bee Gees catalog. The Bee Gees, my son likes the Bee Gees. There are Bee Gees songs that we play that he's like, man, this is good. Like, especially the disco stuff. Because if you're a hip hop kid, you're going to recognize a lot. I mean, a lot. Trust me, most of the hip hop guys like the Bee Gees, or at least they respect them. They understand what that was. I don't know. Happy birthday, Barry Gibb. I like Barry Gibb. There's an incredible. As a matter of fact, let me just say, since we're talking about Barry Gibb, let me see what this is. Just so you know what I'm talking about. Here's something you may enjoy. All right. You got something to watch this weekend. You got the HBO Max here. Check this out. This is what I'm talking. This is a very enlightening and very interesting documentary about what the Bee Gees really were, as opposed to what their sort of public persona became and what their brand became.
Welcome, the Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees.
Once again, the fabulous Bee
The most exciting sound in the world.
The biggest grossing album in the history of music.
Has the enormous success changed your life?
Well, I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and as he was cleaning my shoes, I said, listen.
That's a Sickly Bird.
We often thought we were triplets. We had the same sense of humor. We had the same love of the same kind of music.
When you've got brothers singing, it's like an instrument that nobody else can buy.
Brothers, in general, it's a very complicated thing.
If we hadn't been brothers, we wouldn't have lasted half an hour.
We've heard rumours that the group is splitting up. Would you like to verify those rumours?
No.
I don't think people realize
we
that.
all wanted individual recognition. All three of us did things to each other that I think we're all sorry for.
I know I did.
I said, let's make an album in Miami. We had to adopt a new attitude and a new sound.
I said, well, why don't we just take a bar out of Night Fever and see if we can make a loop out of it? We were breaking new ground.
It was extraordinary. The Fever thing happened, that's when everything exploded.
I mean, that could very easily have just been a horn line. But instead, their voices were so sick, they're like, nah, we're gonna sing it.
They were on the first wave of global pop superstardom, if you want to call it that.
They had the top 5 hits any given week. For those of us at the radio station, we're going to take hostages.
How about the Bee Gees?
When you become famous, you think everyone loves you and they're going to love you forever. It's not true. We really could not get on the radio, so the whole idea was to write for other people.
It was just as important for us to have an artist singing one of our songs and being on the radio as it was for ourselves.
Everything we set out to do, we did, against all odds. I can't honestly come to terms with the fact that they're not here anymore.
All right, there you go. That's a good documentary. Hold on. All right. Did that even share? I don't know. I was on the other page. All right, moving on. Back to more birthdays. We are celebrating birthdays today. Oh, my God. I lost my internet. Hold on. Hold on, guys. I mean, I lost my internet on this computer. No, it won't find anything. Hold on. Hold on, guys. I'm having a little technical issue on this computer. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have to reboot this. All right. So we can continue over here. Okay, where were we? Barry Gibb. He was having a birthday. Let's see. Who else is having a birthday? Born on this day in 1950, Dr. Phil McGraw. Got no real hot takes on Dr. Phil McGraw other than, I can take him or leave him. Born on this day in 1957, Gloria Estefan. Got no hot takes on Gloria Estefan either. I mean, not really my thing, but hey, whatever. She seems successful. Born on this day in 1970, Padma Lakshmi. She's from Top Chef. She's that gorgeous supermodel from Top Chef. But she's interesting because she married, when she was 20, she married 60-year-old Salman Rushdie. Actually, I don't know he was 60. But Salman Rushdie had a death warrant on him for writing the Satanic Verses. Salman Rushdie wrote a book, The Satanic Verses. And Iran put a jihad out on him. So it's the obligation of any good Muslim to kill him because there's this. Anyway, it's been that deal for a long time. He was safe for like 40 years, and then last year he got stabbed in the face at a book signing. So, they'll wait it out. Those jihadists will wait it out. So while this jihadi was against him, he married Padma Lakshmi, which means that she was like, yeah, I don't care. Whatever. It's cool with me. Also, here's the thing you might notice if you watch the Top Chef, if you watch the any of the stuff. Oh, no, wait, is she top? She's Top Chef, right? Yeah, she's not like famous top model or whatever. She's Top Chef. So if you used to watch that, you might notice, God, she's beautiful. Ooh, what happened to her arm? Because the one thing that I notice when I see her, she has like a 10-inch scar down her arm, down her left arm. Yeah, down her left arm. And it is like really pronounced. Like she is like this image of perfection, of like female perfection. She's beautiful. She's tall. She's thin. She's proportionate. She's got, everything about her. And then you see this giant scar, and it's very interesting. It's like, it almost makes her more beautiful. It almost makes her more attractive because, she's got this one thing that other people might go, well, that's an imperfection. That's why I shop at Marshall's, because, just because there's an imperfection, it doesn't mean it's not a beautiful piece of clothing you can get for $10. That's all I'm saying. Hold on. I'm trying to do something here. I'm getting the computer back up. Bear with me for a second. What else about Padma Lakshmi? Oh, yeah. How'd she get the car? She was in like a really bad car accident when she was young. And like she had like this like major, she like almost lost use of her arm. So that's what that scar's about. Happy birthday to you, Padma Lakshmi. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Well, she knows that from all my letters. You ever sent a letter to a celebrity? I mean, even in the email age, when it became really easy to do that, hell, even now when it's like Twitter, you can just @ somebody on Twitter. I've never really done that. I just want to tell you, like fan mail, I just want to tell you how much I love you. I've never done that. Never done that. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's nice. If that is that is genuinely a nice thing. Hey, I feel affection for this person. I want to document it, put it down, and send it to them so that they know that somebody out there cares about them. That's nice. In theory, it's just, it seems weird, but it is nice. It is putting positivity out there, and that's something we strive for around these parts. Born on this day in 1970, Padma Lakshmi. We already talked about that. How about this one? Born on this day, 1996, Zendaya. I don't know much about her. I don't watch the show that she's on. It's not my thing. She does like the young teenage high school girl sex show. My kid likes it though. My kid's a big Zendaya fan. Here's where I know Zendaya from Dune. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, now I get why she's so famous. Look at those eyes. And then it was explained to me that those aren't her real eyes, that those were just eyes that were for Dune, the character. She plays a space alien with like weird eyes. And I thought they were her real eyes at first because I'm an idiot. I mean, I thought maybe they were enhanced. I didn't think they were completely digitized. Whatever. They were beautiful. She was a beautiful spice merchant in Dune or whatever she was. I don't know. Happy birthday, Zendaya. My son also, I have this crazy list of favorite celebrity couples. It includes the likes of Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman. I have a whole list of them that I really enjoyed. My son does as well. And Zendaya and Spider-Man, I think, are probably at the top of his list. Zendaya is that because Zendaya is dating Spider-Man. What's that guy's name? Mark Chapman. No, that's not Mark Chapman killed. Mark Chapman killed Lennon. Who's Spider-Man? I don't know. Isn't he an English kid? Whatever. Moving on. All right. Now it's time to do deaths. This is a little segment we do. It's where we go through the people who have died. We've just gone through the people who've lived, but now we're going to go through the people who've died, and we call it heaven or hell because we look at their body of work, what they're known for, and posthumously decide whether they are in heaven or hell. Let's start out with one of the world's most talented architects. This guy made some buildings that people were like, whoa, holy crap, this guy is next level. Some people like, Frank Lloyd, who? This guy is the most important architect of all time. Problem with this guy is he worked for Hitler, so he's going to hell. Albert Speer. Albert Speer died on this day in 1981. German architect and author. He was the architect for the Third Reich. He was good, but sorry. Dead on this day in 2005, R.L. Burnside. R.L. Burnside. Do you remember R.L. Burnside? He had a song like in 92, 93. He's an old blues man. He got together with a bunch of young musicians. Like there was a bunch of young hipster musicians back in 1992 who like found this old, never been successful, not a name, just like, a blues singer, and they made him their front man, and people went, man, that's so cool for the 90s. Those 20-year-olds have like a 90-year-old lead singer. It was like a weird thing. So they got MTV playing, they became big, and they had that song, It's Bad, It's bad, it's bad, and it was like a long extended harmonica. Anyway, that was R.L. Burnside. Here's the interesting thing. That band, I always thought it was just that band turned out to be John Spencer. That was John, who's now like John Spencer Blues Explosion. There's John Spencer's Blues Experiment. John Spencer has done a whole bunch of stuff, and he's a fairly respected name now. 1992, he was the guy who went, let's get the old guy and let's put him up front. Anyway, that was a good song. It's bad, I can't play it because we don't have any music rights. So I got to try and replicate it as best I can. By the way, did any of you guys hear Danny Bayless last night on The Freak here in Dallas, 97.1? Oh, my God. Jeez. That station is so much fun. They did this thing. I swear, you can't do this at any other stations. They did this thing called Free Fall. Apparently, it's the second time they do it. It's where everybody who works at the station, everybody, doesn't matter if you do the afternoon show or whatever, you show up at like 6 o'clock in the morning for the morning show. And throughout the course of the day, there are a series of games that pit hosts against each other from different time slots and all that. A series of games, almost like an Olympics. And every winner of every event gets to go home for the day. So as they whittle through the events, one host after another gets to go home for the day until there is just one guy left standing. And after like 12 hours of this throughout the entire day, being a part of this event throughout the entire day, the loser has to do the final hour, 6 o'clock to 7, by themselves with no breaks, no nothing. Which for me, I went, bring that on. I do 2 hours plus every day. But anyway, Danny Bayless was the loser. And so Danny Bayless did the 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock hour yesterday. Let me give you an example of what he did. This is apropos of nothing, but we here in Dallas, it was so funny. Hold on, hold on. I got to find this for you. You've probably seen it. I don't think I shared it. Maybe I did. It's the weirdest damn thing. Yeah, okay. Okay, so here it is. So after doing 12 hours, this was basically the entire 6 to 7 o'clock hour. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Danny Bayless, you might go, well, that seems horrible for an hour. It was so funny. He did other things too, but it was just so entertaining. What fun they get to have at a talk that isn't just all about politics. See, that's what we need to do. Okay, so this was Danny after losing. This was basically the Freak for the last hour.
Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight, exit light. So he wasn't allowed to play music because that would be a break. So what he did was he played music and just sang over it. So if you're in the car, you're listening to Metallica, but maybe it's situational. Maybe you have to love these people to begin with, but this was so wheels off. With one eye open, gripping your pillow tight, exit light, enter night, take my hand, walk to Neverland. Yeah!
I'm glad it's over, but I will tell you that was so much fun. And when you work with this group of people, if you can't be in a room with them for 13 hours and have a great time, then there's something wrong with you. It is an emotional roller coaster. If you're stuck here for 13 hours, yes, it is the highs of thinking there's a possibility that I'm about to get out of here. I can win this thing. And when you realize that it's not going to happen, you sink to an all-time low, and then you've got to turn around real quick and then get your energy back up to face another game. And after like 7 or 8 of those of it just not happening for you, you kind of like that last hour, you're kind of just resigned to the fact that it's just not going to happen for me today, so I'd better sing some freaking Metallica. I didn't. I clearly didn't. I didn't. I talked about TV shows that I'm watching and answered a couple of questions and sang a couple of songs. Sorry for spitting, but that's about it. Yeah, just kind of.
All right, there you go. Yeah, real difficult, Danny. 1 hour, no breaks by yourself. Oh, my heart bleeds for you, my guy. I love Danny Bayless. Danny Bayless, I've worked in radio since 1992, and I have worked with some people who, look, the majority of the people who I learned from are all in the Hall of Fame, the National Hall of Fame. They were all nationally recognized greats in the history of doing talk radio or entertainment radio, whatever you want to call it. In all those years, Danny Bayless is about as talented an individual as I have ever seen in this business. And I've never worked with Danny. We just know each other over the years of working in the same town, and we're very friendly with each other, and but certainly wouldn't consider him a friend. But man, he is so talented. People were like, I don't know who he is. He's one of the most talented musicians in town as far as songwriting and stuff like that. I mean, he does that. He is so prolific with what he's able to create, and he's just a really fun presence. Anyway, that station yesterday was absolutely insane. And by the way, here in town, there's sort of this big dilemma among people who used to be ticket P1s about, well, I can't listen to the Freak because that's a tough man. Get off that. Seriously. Stop that. Life is short, brother. Like I was saying, remember the lady in Pompano Beach last week? She was just making her morning coffee. She was putting food down for a dog. And guess what? She's dead. Why? Because a helicopter crashed into her apartment. That's what life is. Stop worrying about, I'm a P1, the Freak must suck. Dude, there is so much ticket talent over there. And I maybe they don't say this out loud. There is so much ticket talent over there at the Freak right now. You're almost doing yourself a disservice if you're just like, one of these diehard ticket guys. You can listen to both. I listen to both. I enjoy both. Hell, man, I live for when their commercials don't sync up. So that, one is in a commercial and I can jump to the other. And then when they go to a commercial, I jump back. There's nothing wrong with that. So stop it with this stupid, you can only like one or the other. All right. Hey, let's get back into the deaths. We got a couple more deaths we got to do. R.L. Burnside, I believe he's in heaven. There you go. It's bad, Dead on this day in 2008. How about Jerry Reed? Look, let me tell you this about Jerry Reed. Jerry Reed was, of course, the Bandits sidekick. He's a country singer, too. But for people like me who grew up in the North, we didn't really know country, so we wasn't a country guy. He was the Bandit sidekick. And I'll say this about Jerry Reed. If there is a heaven and Jerry Reed ain't there, I don't want to be there. Jerry Reed's in heaven. Of course he is. He was so tolerant of the Bandit. Oh, that Burt Reynolds. He was a scamp. And Jerry was a scamp himself, but Jerry was what? You know what? Here's that character. The character Jerry Reed played. What was his name? Can't remember his name. Character Jerry Reed played in the Smokey and the Bandit movies is the reason the Bandit isn't doing 10 years hard time on a chain gang. That was his. He was like the guy he keeps his friend, in line. Not in line totally, because they're still doing illegal things. But you know what I mean? Without Jerry Reed's I'm just saying, he's in heaven. There you go. Ranting on Jerry Reed for no reason. Dead on this day in 2015. How about Dean Jones? You guys know who Dean Jones is? Dean Jones was a guy, he was an actor. He did movies for a billion years. But then at the end of his life, and for people like me and Gen X or raised in the 80s who remember Disney movies of the 1970s, Dean Jones was Mr. Disney. He always played the dad. He always played the, what? Why is that dog talking? He was that guy. Herbie the Love Bug. He was the star. Herbie the Love Bug, that darn cat. Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. Beethoven. He was even Beethoven. Yeah. Anyway, he's one of the Disney legends, one of the all-times. Dean Jones died on this day in 2015. You better believe he's in heaven. You better believe. You can't look. I love that guy. I was a little kid, and I'm like, I want him to be my dad. So, Dean Jones. What? The car can fly? He was that guy. He was like, what? I don't believe it. And the kids are like, Dad, just believe. He was that role. He was good, though. I liked him. Dean Jones, dead on this day in 2015. All right, folks, what do you say we effortlessly slide into what we do here on the show, which is basically, one, pitch for your tips, because this kind of radio, this kind of talk radio that occurs every day, Monday through Friday at noon, it can't exist without your tips. And although we have incredible executive producers from day to day like Leslie C. and Mama B, who are entirely responsible for this show today, we do need your additional help. So if you could, drop a little something in the Venmo, drop a little something in the Cash App. Help us continue to do this kind of non-divisive, fun, topical talk radio. That's all we're going to say about that. We're other than we're desperate. It's the first of the month, and we didn't make it. Thank you, folks. We didn't make it. And it's a holiday weekend, which means, I don't know, I might have to do a show. I might have to do a show on Monday just to grind out an extra 20. You know what I mean? I don't know. My kid's going to be at football camp anyway. I wonder if there'd be any audience for a show Monday. I don't know. Anyway, help out if you can. This show exists simply because you people say it should. And I appreciate that. All right, let's get into all the hot topics of the day. Let's talk about the things that are happening. Let's talk about what people are buzzing about. First and foremost, this is interesting. This is fascinating to me. We're not going to talk about Idalia because apparently, not a thing anymore. No good destruction or body counts. So the media has moved on. After ginning us up for 3 days, it's going to be the worst ever. So we don't have that to top off our news. We're going to start with the Trump tile available in the Trump store. You can buy Trump tiles. Trump trial. This is fascinating. It's going to be on TV. It's going to be the Atlanta trial, the Georgia trial, the Fulton County trial, whatever it is. They're going to stream it. Man, they are going to stream it on their YouTube page. Now, I don't know how the rights are going to go out to other people, but can you imagine the global audience that will be tuned in if it's the only place you can see it? The Fulton County Court YouTube page will be. It's gonna. So that was the big decision that was made yesterday, that the Trump trial is going to be televised. Now, I don't know if it's good or bad for him. I don't know. I don't care. We don't get into the weeds on that kind of stuff here. It's going to make the O.J. Simpson trial look like a random episode of Judge Judy. It is going. Do you remember? Did you live through the O.J. Simpson trial? Do you remember the phenomena that was in American culture? Everybody. There is not, other than 9/11, 9/11 would certainly be the first. Maybe the space shuttle. No. Other than the Rodney King beating, I don't know. Other than 9/11, the most significant event that has happened in this country that I could probably say everybody in this country knows about was the O.J. Simpson trial. I mean, I can't think of anything else. 9/11 is obviously number one. But the O.J. Simpson trial, here's the other thing about the O.J. Simpson trial when it was put on TV from the Los Angeles courtroom there back in the 90s. It made careers. I mean, there are people who are still working today who were, just their entire job. They were a kid out of college and their first assignment was to just every day do a report on this O.J. thing. Yeah, that person is now hosting the ABC Evening News. David Muir began as like an O.J. correspondent. I believe it was David Muir. One of these guys, I think it was David Muir. One of these guys, maybe it's the CBS guy. I don't know, whatever. Point is this. It was so big. I was on a midday show at that point in Chicago. We covered the trial live in real time. We were playing live feeds from the trial and commenting. We did this whole week-long skit where we pretended that we were at the trial. So the entire show was like this. It was a ripoff of something that Stephen Gary had done years before, but whatever. It was a tribute, an homage, if you will. It was a big deal, the O.J. Simpson trial. When Donald Trump goes on trial and people can watch every little bit of it, it's going to be huge. It's going to be not just O.J. They don't even know what football is across the ocean. O.J. was just American. It was an American phenomenon. The Trump trial is going to be global. Wow. So that's what I think of that. Do I think it's a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a great thing because I'm going to sit and watch. It sounds like amazing television. It sounds like, so, you know, but is it good or bad for him? Again, we're not getting into the weeds in that. I don't know. I don't care. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what their strategy is. I'm just glad that we're going to be able to see how it's presented. And I think it's important because so many people believe in conspiracy theories. Let's see everything. Let's hear the evidence. Let's listen to the defense, and then let's go. Okay. Let's see. Kemp. Here's another one, also out of Georgia. Kemp regarding Fannie Willis. There was a request made to Governor Kemp, the governor, the Republican conservative, dyed-in-the-wool red governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp. The request was made for him to suspend, or, you know what? I'm going to read it to you because I want to make it. Okay. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it to you because I don't want to get this wrong because, again, this is one of those things that straddle. It's a hot button political thing. And you people are all bitches, you know, with whatever side you're on, right or left. Governor Kemp soundly rejects MAGA legislators' push to oust Fannie Willis in fiery presser. We will not be engaging in political theater, the governor says. So, yeah, so that's, you know, of course, because she brought charges against a guy, instead of allowing it to play out in court and see what these charges really are. No, the American way is to just, you know, fire the judge and let the guy go. It's like, okay, that's absurd. That is absurd. There's a case. If there's not a case, there's not a case. It's going to go in front of a jury. That's how our system works. Shut up. So anyway, they tried to get him to fire, and he's like, no, I'm not going to fire, which is an admirable thing because it's absolutely absurd. Let's not do justice in this case. Let's do something different. It's like, what? In this case. Okay. All right. Here's a scary one. This is kind of a scary one. So there's one of the leading Kremlin television propagandists. Now, what is that job description? Well, that's a dude who has marching orders from the Kremlin to say what the Kremlin wants to put out there. And he's on TV news in Russia every single day. So he's like this, you know, he's a Putin apologist. And, you know, anyway, here's the deal. So this guy, Russian propagandist, says that Tucker Carlson is a dead man. Woo! I don't know what this is all about. But, so, you know, Putin kills his enemies. And this propagandist was basically saying, just so Tucker Carlson knows. And this is crazy because Tucker Carlson has been one of America's greatest Putin apologists for years. It's very sketchy. You know, I know what he's doing. He's doing a counter for ratings. He's like taking a position that is insane. He knows it's insane, but he knows that like he can totally convince a bunch of people who don't realize it's insane that it might be real. And now what you've done is you've created the ginning up process, which is all he's about. It's all he's about. I've been doing media since 1992. I can watch a show and tell you exactly what the broadcast theories are of the executive producer. I can look at a show and go, oh, this executive producer comes from this school. Or, oh, this is, and Tucker, obviously, look, very successful, entertaining guy, talented guy. Don't kid yourself. Tucker Carlson has worked at all three networks. He's talented. He was good on MSNBC. Yeah. Oh, you guys don't remember when he was the firebrand on MSNBC with very progressive ideals? Yeah. And then CNN. And then, you know, the reinvention. Stop putting these people up on pedestals. These people are highly paid entertainers who are now working in entertaining news. And I don't mean that just on Tucker. I mean that on all of them. Anyone who has sat behind a desk on a big network news show and anchored their own primetime show is a performer. And it's been that way since Cronkite went away. Don't kid yourself. So anyway, Russia is still dealing with the fallout from the stunning demise of the head of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, as well as the recent passing of the rocket guy that I told you about yesterday. Both of whom recently perished. This week, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters that several possible causes are being considered, including the possibility that Prigozhin's plane was downed deliberately. Oh, really? See, this is what they do. The Kremlin admits that's a possibility it was shot down. They shot it down. They put it out there. We're not hiding it. We said it was a possibility. We'll investigate it. You know what? You're right. You're right. We should investigate. Let's get on that. Let's get an investigation. Okay. They just investigated. We didn't shoot it. You know what I mean? That's the bullshit. That's how it works over there. We can't project our own understanding of how American media works over there because it's crazy over there. So on Thursday, Russia's most prominent propagandist, on Thursday, Russia's most prominent propagandist, Vladimir Salyukov, even more pompously predicted that soon there might be another potential victim. Former Fox News host and current podcaster Tucker Carlson. The latest broadcast of The Evening with Vladimir Salyukov featured multiple clips of Carlson's hysterical predictions, including his claim that the U.S. government is getting ready to go to war with Russia, a war Carlson implied the U.S. would lose. See, this is why people in America are like, because he's always been like sort of a, but I don't understand why the Russians would be mad at that. In a series of clips from Adam Carolla's YouTube show that were hand-selected for Salyukov's program, Carlson accused both Republican and Democrats of being insane and hysterical, predicting that a war between the U.S. and Russia would start next year. Salyukov theatrically asked, "Who says that? A dead man walking, that's who." But I don't understand why he's mad. I don't get it. We're moving on. Anyway, that's all you need to know, that apparently one of Russia's top propagandists is saying that Tucker Carlson is, tread lightly. I'm a little bit scared. Hey, probably should be. I mean, I'll be like, wait, what? What? I've been saying nothing but kind of nice things about them for about 4 years now. Why are they mad at me? All right, here's a thing that's happening in New York City this week that's got a whole lot of people all freaked out about it. And I don't know. I don't know if we should be all freaked out about it. So this week, the New York City Police Department is launching a new program. It's their drone program. And what's the drone going to do? Well, the New York City Police Department is a little bit concerned about these big holiday weekends and all the violence that happens at backyard parties and, you know, people going out to the beaches and the parks, you know, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of these things, especially when we're talking about backyard parties and barbecues, police, they have to knock at the front door. Not with a drone. They can fly drones over backyard parties and just look and just be like, what's going on? Is that dude smoking pot? Well, it doesn't matter. It's legal because it's New York. But you know what I mean? So a lot of people are like, you can't do that. What is this, a Tom Cruise movie? You can't just fly a bunch of drones around and act like not a thing. So that's what some people are saying. However, the police are saying, here, you know what? I'm going to, again, I'll do it. I will read it for you instead of just me so that, you know, we can make sure we get at least some of the facts. And when I get bored of the reading, then, or when I feel like we've gotten the crux of the story out there, then we'll bail. New York police will use drones to monitor backyard parties this weekend, spurring privacy concerns. Those attending outdoor parties or barbecues in New York City this weekend may notice an uninvited guest looming over their festivities, a police surveillance drone. The New York City Police Department plans to pilot the unmanned aircrafts in response to complaints about large gatherings, including private events, over Labor Day weekend, officials announced Thursday. If a caller states there's a large crowd, a large party in a backyard, we're going to be utilizing our assets to go up and go check on the party. Okay. All right. What you guys doing? The plan drew immediate backlash from privacy and civil liberties advocates, raising questions about whether such drone use violated existing laws for police surveillance. It's a troubling announcement, and it flies in the face of the Post Act, said Daniel Schwartz, a privacy and technology strategist at the New York Civil Liberties Union. All right, so that's the issue. Here, the police are saying, hey, if we get a call and somebody says there's a loud party going on, we will then send the drones. We're not just going to fly the drones willy-nilly over people's backyards, taking pictures and recording stuff. We promise. Man, that's troubling. That's troubling because I don't trust them. I don't trust them. And I know a lot of us are sitting there going, well, it wouldn't be a problem for me because at my backyard party, nothing is going wrong. You know, until you live in a state like Texas and they adopt it and your kid is smoking a joint behind the garage and suddenly your house is getting swatted. Then how do you feel? It is troubling. But I do believe that drones can certainly play a role in law enforcement. I think that drones can be used to find people who are running. Drones. I don't know. I'm not a drone expert, but I am a big believer in technology, and I'm a big believer in progressing. I'll tell you, like, the world just changes. Like in 20 years, will I be used to walking down the street and having like a head level drone pass me by on the street? Something like that. And doesn't that seem crazy? But I watched something. What was I watching? I was watching a 30 for 30 documentary, and it took place. I was watching the 30 for 30 documentary, Elway to Marino, about the 1983, I think, NFL draft. It's very interesting. But there were a whole bunch of scenes of crowds of people gathered around at what passed for the NFL draft back then. Much smaller. It was totally a different thing. But all of these people, 1983, they look like aliens from another land. There are no computers. There's nothing. They do have something in their hands. They have something in their hands the way we all have our cell phones now. But they all have cigarettes in their hands. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, Jesus, they are all inside a tiny little hotel banquet room. There's 300 people and there's 500 lit cigarettes. And it's just like disgusting. And that was only 1983. And I'm like, holy shit, has the world changed? And I'm wondering if you took someone from back then, from that room, and put them today, and they saw all these people walking down the street, vaping, talking on their cell phones. I mean, that would look completely space age to them. So, I mean, I don't know. Are we heading towards a world where we're just going to have to deal with drones being a presence in our everyday life? Are we going to be walking down the street? Are we? Because, hey, America, baby, we're all about making that money, and we're all about not standing in the way of a private business. America, 2050, are you going to be walking down the street and a drone's going to pull up next to you and try and sell you a candy bar? Okay, I did that because now you get like little kids like, Mr. Buy a candy bar for sport my baseball team. You get that. So is that what's going to happen? Are we just going to be used to that? Are we going to walk into a restaurant and there's going to be like a drone or a robot going, let me show you to your table? I mean, how weird would that look to us? But that is very possible the reality of 2050. 2050 is 25 years from now is going to look markedly different than today. And if you look back on your life, if you're over 50 like I am, you can look back at your life in 20-year increments and go, wow. I mean, 80 was nothing. 80 looked nothing like 2000. 2000 looked nothing like 2020. So I don't know. What does this mean? New York City using police? I don't live in New York. Moving on. Proud Boys. Bunch of Proud Boys going to jail for a whole bunch of years. Moving on. They were convicted in the January 6th thing. How about this one? Texas versus Pornhub. Remember this? This story was going on. Pornhub is being forced in the state of Texas because state of Texas is, very into our sex. State of Texas. Texas is supposed to be, hey, leave me alone, boy. Get off my property. Very interested and very involved in like the sexual proclivities of the citizens. It's a bit of a imbalance there, you would think. But Texas tried to make a new law. By the way, a whole bunch of Texas laws go into effect today, and we'll talk about that. Texas has a new law where when you sign on to Pornhub, actually, let me see. Let's go to Pornhub. I'm in Texas. Let's see what happens. Now, I think I know what's going to happen because... all right. Did I get there? Oh, God. Yeah, I got there. All right. Uninterrupted. So here's the problem. So today was the day that there was supposed to be a wall put up between anyone in Texas trying to go to Pornhub that's going to force them to do a couple of things. Register, some kind of age verification or whatever it is. Anyway, those age verifications are a joke. They meet the bare minimum requirement of the law. And the law is written to allow them to make the bare... You know about internet age checks, right? Here's how serious internet age checks are. Are you 18? Because if you're not, get out of here. What 15-year-old is going to go, well, I better be honest here. No, you caught me. I'm not. That's it. All you got to do is say you're 18. That's not an age verification. So, okay, so that's a whole problem. Anyway, Texas wanted to put some kind of additional age verification over Pornhub, so that when people in Texas would Go to Pornhub, they'd have to do all these things. A federal judge in Texas yesterday said, nope, can't do that. Sorry, Texas, but that is, here, I'll read it to you. Again, just because I want to make sure that we get the real story. Texas versus Pornhub. Court rules in Pornhub's favor in finding Texas age verification law violates the First Amendment. We can go into it and we can get into the weeds, but why would we do that? It's Friday of Labor Day weekend. There's a Family Dollar store here. And story. You know, I'm like really obsessed with the Dollar Tree and the dollar store and that whole thing. Love them. Love the Dollar Tree. There's a pecking order: Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Dollar General. Never been in the Dollar General. I don't know. I got to go through a little more. I've been traumatized at Family Dollar, so I don't know if I'm ready to go all the way down to the next level, which is Dollar General. Seriously, I mean, those never mind. I don't want to get into a Family Dollar thing. I'll say this about Family Dollar, and this story, by the way, concerns Family Dollar. So, okay, so here's how I look at it. So, Dollar Tree is like, they're clean and they're nice and they got everything you want, and it's pretty much Dollar Tree is like I don't want to be. Dollar Tree is like Target with a drug problem. You know what I mean? Like Target is like imagine if Target had a drug problem and it was just a little bit sleazier, just a little. That's kind of what that is. Family Dollar is like, I don't know. Family Dollar is. I'll say this: anytime I'm in a Family Dollar, everybody shopping in a Family Dollar looks like they're on break from a 12-step program. They all look like there's like some meeting across the street and they've got 15 minutes and they're just going to go wander around a Family Dollar. Or cleaning ladies. It's like those people. That's what Family Dollar is. People who look like they're on break from a 12-step and cleaning ladies. And me. Although, not really. If there's a Dollar Tree, that's where I'm going. I'm going to the Dollar Tree because I'd rather deal with the Target with a drug problem than be in, the place with all the 12-steppers. Here's the story. Family Dollar, police were called. There was an assault with a lollipop. Apparently, some dude waiting in line to buy a single dum-dum lollipop. Those things that cost like a penny? I don't know. That's what the story says. Dude was in line waiting to buy a single dum-dum lollipop. Got into it with the store manager, okay? Threw the dum-dum lollipop at the store manager, hitting him in the eye, hurt him bad, called the police. Police arrested the Family Dollar dude who threw the dum-dum lollipop. Assault. It's assault. Hit him in the line. Could have blinded him. Now, let's talk about some of the things that's going on here. I've been to like a million of these stores. I've never even met a manager. So that tells me that this dude was doing some stuff, or he's a regular. You know what I mean? Like he's one of these dudes who comes in every day and you got to keep an eye on him and he's trouble. You know what I mean? He's one of these guys. And then, I'm thinking, okay, maybe he was just a regular old. Nope. Turns out he's a crackhead. Dude's been arrested like 5 times. He's been arrested a couple of times in front of this particular Family Dollar. So he's probably banned from the store, and that's probably what the altercation was, but he threw a dum-dum. See, I'm just telling you, these are the kinds of people that you find at a Family Dollar. Although it's still better than a Dollar General. Kent State is trending. Kent State is trending because this is a fun story. Sending your daughter off to college, are you? This is. So there's a professor. And look, I don't know. I think he did it wrong. Like, I think if this was my kink, I would have been able to get away with it because there is a way to do it where you don't. But maybe that's the problem with people with crazy kinks. They're crazy. They don't think things through reasonably. They don't plot effectively. So there's he's a teacher, professor. He's a professor at Kent State. And apparently he's got a clown fetish. Like he's really into well, I'll just tell you the story. So what he was doing was he was hanging out in weird Reddit groups. And he's a professor. And he's saying he's a professor. And he was hanging out in groups that were specific to Kent State. And he was offering students like $50 if they would come over to his place and let him paint their faces. Right. And it was like, he got off on it. It was his thing. And then he showed a whole bunch of examples of faces that he had painted. But it turns out those were just Google images, that they weren't actual things they did. But and then he was actually, he said it in a Reddit group. He said, yeah, I fantasize about painting the faces of the cute girls in my classes. So it's obviously a sex thing. He's fantasizing about it. It's not just okay. Oh, and also he was offering particularly attractive students like bumps in grades if they just come over and let me paint your face. Like he wants to paint their face, like, you know. Woo. Anyway, so that's all weird. And of course, he got in trouble for it. And well, here, did he get in trouble for it? Let me tell you. I have a face paint fetish and convinced the cute girls in my class to let me paint their faces. He openly wrote on Reddit. That was a problem. You can't write that. That's cute. You added cute. That means there's, you know, something other than it's sexual at that point. Or at least there's, you know, some dalliance, some college professor harassed students to quench clown fetish, offering extra credit and cash. Did administrators miss the warning signs that allowed Joseph Takash to continue his act at 3 different colleges? That's right. Hey, my friends, Northern Illinois University, one of my old stomping grounds, was one of the colleges where he pulled this stuff. So here's how he could have gotten away with it. See, the problem is that he openly made it sexual. There is truly an art form to be defended in makeup. If you are a makeup, that's what it is. It's a makeup artist. Instead of him going, I have a fetish and I will give you $50 if you let me paint your face. Instead of doing that, if he had just been like, and like he could still get off on it, you just got to keep that part hidden. Like if he had just been like, hey guys, by the way, many of you know one of my side things is I like to do makeup, you know, like really cool makeup. You know, I specialize in clowning, so I do that. If any of you guys want to help me out and will give me an opportunity to practice, I mean, I pay for my subjects and all that stuff. Okay, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on. If he had just handled it that way. But instead, he's on Reddit going, I get the cute girls in my class to let me paint their face. See, he blew it, people. What? You know what? Seriously, why am I not a therapist? Why am I not some kind of crisis counselor? I mean, so many of these stupid dead baby names. Not the names of babies who have died. That would be wildly inappropriate and too dark for me. I think you know that. No, here's a list that I wanted to go through today that I saw in an article this morning. It talks about names and it talks about new names and all of that, but then gives us a list of names that are gone forever. These are names of people, basically dead baby names that babies used to get. They just don't get anymore. And how did they do this? Well, they figured these were names that occupied at least 50% of these were popular names. 50% of babies are over whatever it was. I don't know. I don't have the article, but these were very popular names at some point, and now they're extremely rare. Like people just don't name. We all have grandparents or great grandparents with these names. None of us have nieces or nephews with these names. All right, so here you go. Here are the dead baby names. Do you have any of them? Let's see. Oh, for crying out loud. Hold on, I got to refresh the page. I do apologize. Bum, 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 bum. Sorry, guys. You know, this happens. I get ahead of myself and I think, hey, let's do this. So I'm not entirely sure how to do this now because, oh, there we go. All right, now we got it fixed. Very good. Okay. All right, here we go. These are dead baby. Oh, jeez, that's a good one. Hold on. All right, here we go. Dead baby names. Number 1 on the list of dead baby names, Gertrude. Ain't nobody named Gertrude anymore. Herbert. Dead name. Used to be very popular. Not popular at all. Elmer. You know who killed that? The cartoon pig. Wait, was Elmer Fudd a pig? Was Elmer Fudd a pig? I know Porky was a pig. I know that. Elmer Fudd. He was hunting. I'm gonna give me a rabbit. Yeah, we know Elmer. Was he a pig? I don't know, whatever. Elmer. The name Elmer Fudd came about, and all the Elmers were gone. Another dead name, Agnes. Agnes could come back. I mean, it's egg. I mean, it's ugly, but there are ugly names that have come back. Agnes could come back. Agnes May. Agnes. There could be. You know what? I could see Agnes coming back. Minnie. I could totally see Minnie coming back. I think Minnie could come back. Apparently, Minnie used to be very popular. This cute name stopped being popular around 1971, perhaps as a result of Minnie Mouse. I don't know. Lester. Well, we know what happened with Lester. Lester, Chester, molester. You know, Lester it became bad. Blanche. That's not good. Although, Blanche last was seen regularly on baby name rolls in 1964. That was the last time that Blanche was a common name for babies. Thelma. Here's another one. Thelma fell off the baby name list in 1982. 1982 was when Thelma died. How about Lloyd? How about the difficult to spell Lloyd? Why is it difficult to spell? Because there's 2 L's, and I have a speech impediment. I have difficulty pronouncing my L's. See, I don't use my tongue. Trust me, I've been over it. I used to take vocal breakdowns and all. I know I have lazy L's. That's why I sell milk. That's why I don't drink milk. I drink milk. Milk. Anyway, Lloyd is a difficult name for me because there's 2 L's and the second L doesn't need to be there. It's big L, little L, O-Y-D. Screw you, name of Lloyd. I have tried to spell that name a million times. I always do it wrong. Bernard. Bernard stayed on the list of baby names until 2008. Bernard. Bernie. The feminine was Bernadette, right? Whatever. I don't know. I could see Bernard coming back. Fanny. Fanny ain't coming back. Fanny means butt. Nobody's naming their kid butt. Fanny fell off the list in 1967. Bernice. Bernice. Yeah, not good. Bernice. 1984 was the last time Bernice made the list. Milton. How about this one? That's the last one. Milton fell off the list in 2008. There you go, folks. If you're having a baby, those are all dead names. Bring them back if you want. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of people who died. We've got some people who have passed away. First and foremost, let's talk about Jack. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I gotta be honest, I didn't know this guy existed until I saw that he died. And then I read it. I'm like, who is he? And then I read it and I'm like, okay, he gets a mention. Jack Sony, who is in Dire Straits. He's a guitar player in Dire Straits. And when you think of Dire Straits, you think of like all that great guitar. You think of the Sultans of Swing. You think of all that, just that intricate chicken picking style Southern influence with blues rock guitar playing. And you're like, man, that Jack Sony must have been an amazing guitar player. And you'd be wrong because that was Mark Knopfler. That was the other guitar player in Dire Straits. That was the guitar player. You ask anybody who played guitar in Dire Straits, you know, they're all going to tell you Mark Knopfler. This guy was the other guy. And it's funny because that's kind of how he branded himself. He recognized very early on that Mark Knopfler was one of the greatest guitar players of the time. And he went, well, I'm just going to hold down the rhythm back here and cash these paychecks. Hey, Mark, you keep selling them records, baby. You just keep cutting me in. He died. He died after many years. He left Dire Straits after Brothers in Arms, after their big, giant, you know, they were big. They were big in the 70s. They had a nice career. He was a rock star. He had money. But then after I want my MTV. After that, man, when Dire Straits went mega platinum, like in the late 80s, it was after that he left. And he walked away and he hasn't been in the band ever since. Buddy's dead now. So big heartfelt thank you to the guy nobody knew in Dire Straits. He was cool about it, though. That's the point. There's no ego there. He's like, yeah, I play guitar and I'm really good at guitar. Like I'm good enough at guitar to be like a professional guitar player. But you see, I'm in a band with Mark Knopfler and my ego is not so big that I can't recognize that dude's special. So I'm just going to take a step back and continue to cash checks because we're going places with that guy. That's admirable to me. His attitude, his embracing of the nickname, the other guy, is really kind of cool. That says a lot about him. All right, so here we go. Here's another death. This one is interesting. This is someone who I've always thought was a kick, if you will. I don't know. Like, how would I describe her? I mean, I'm not a fan. Like, I didn't even know her real. I mean, I knew her name years ago, but I had forgotten that that's who that was. And when I saw the name that she had died, I went, "Why does that name sound familiar?" And then I clicked on it, and I'm like, "Oh no! Now I feel bad." Okay, so Arlene Sorkin has died. Arlene Sorkin is a fascinating lady, man. First of all, she was an actress, and she's been an actress since the 90s, and you've never heard of her, and you're probably like, "Oh, she's not even successful. My God, why didn't she give up?" Nah, she was married to the creator of Modern Family, so, she's fine. She was fine. She had a nice life. But Arlene Sorkin is best known. I never watched soap operas growing up, but there was about a 2-year period of time when I did. I was in college, and I remember we used to watch soap operas in the dorm room. I wasn't in a dorm, but I used to watch them with the friends there. And then I got into watching it, and I started to actually DVR because it was a particular show. It was the late 80s, probably early 90s, Days of Our Lives. Yeah, you guys remember Days of Our Lives? That show was wheels off. That show was nuts. That's why it was fun, and that's why all us college students watched it. And one of the reasons it was so crazy and so fun was because of Arlene Sorkin, who died at the age of 67 2 days ago. Arlene Sorkin played a character named Calliope Jones. And Calliope Jones was a lunatic. I don't mean she was funny and she had a good time and she was wild. No, her character, she was a lunatic. She would fly off the handle. She was a beautiful, bubbly, bimbo blonde with an edge who was really an interesting and fun character in Days of Our Lives. So that's who she was. She would go on to host America's Funniest Home Videos for 5 years, or America's Funniest People, or whatever it was. So she did other things. One of the other things that she did, which I think is interesting, which we should probably note, because you think of her as she was Calliope on a soap opera 40 years ago. Why is that interesting? She's done nothing. Why are you talking about her? Because she did do something. Because the character of Calliope, there was a scene where one of the people in the show was having a nightmare, and they depicted the nightmare. And the nightmare that they were having was Calliope Jones, the actress Arlene Sorkin, dressed as a clown, tormenting him in his dreams. And it was so weird. It was just ha, ha. And she had this Brooklyn accent. And it was all "I'm coming to get you. I'm going to carve your eyes out." It was totally crazy. And her best friend, Arlene Sorkin's best friend, was back at their apartment because they shared an apartment. Her best friend was a dude. Her best friend saw that. And when she came home, he said, "That was the craziest performance I have ever seen. And I have to tell you, you inspired me to write a new character. And I've created this character based on what I saw from you, my roommate, today on Days of Our Lives." She's the basis for the character of Harley Quinn. Her roommate was the guy who worked for DC, who at the time was just a side artist. He created the character of Harley Quinn, the character that now Margot Robbie plays in the DC film universe. There's 100 different TV shows. The original Harley Quinn, in fact, was voiced by her. When they originally animated the Harley Quinn story in the early 90s, the creator, her former roommate, said, "This is you. This is based on you. You've got to do the voice." And that's where Harley Quinn's sort of accent comes from. And, all in the bimbo blonde, she's sexy, but super manipulative. That all comes from Calliope Jones from Days of Our Lives. Thank you. Arlene Sorkin, dead at the age of 67. So just because you've never heard of her, it's not like her impact hasn't been felt. She's Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie is playing her. Margot Robbie is. Here's an interesting thing. I'm going to show this to you. This was going around. Here you go. Let me show it to you. So the other day I showed you AI put out a picture on Michael Jackson's birthday. AI put out a picture of what Michael Jackson would look like now. And it was weird, right? It was what did I miss? Did I miss an entire? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, wait, here, I missed the whole page. Here, let me read this to you. In 1991, after seeing his friend Arlene Sorkin play a jester in a crazed dream sequence in the soap opera Days of Our Lives, Denny is the creator, decided to have Sorkin become the basis for the character. He then based the wider background and wider idiosyncrasies and movements of Harley Quinn on Sorkin herself, incorporating all aspects of her, such as her mannerisms and her very snappy, wisecracking, bubbly blonde personality. In recording Harley Quinn's voice, Sorkin spoke in her normal New York accent while putting a little bit of Yiddish into the character, since Denny made the character Jewish, another aspect of the character borrowed from Sorkin. Boom. There you go. Okay. Here, I want to show you the Elvis picture. Sorry, I wanted to finish up that because you can believe it from me, but there, it's written and I read it. So now you go, well, guess it's true. He read it somewhere else. It's not just it. See, that's how we are. All right. So now we got a picture. So we saw a picture of Michael Jackson, an AI imagined picture of what Michael Jackson would look like today. And it was like, he looked mad. Like he looked like angry Michael Jackson. So we got another one. How old would he be? Let's see here. Let me see. Let me get an age here. Hold on. I want to give you the right age. Give me the damn age. Oh my God. Good. All right. So you're not going to tell me the age because you know that's something people. Okay. 88 years old. All right. So here we go. AI has created what Elvis Presley would look like at 88 years old. If Elvis Presley was still alive, here we go. I'll stop it with the pop-ups. Now, boom. There you go. That is what AI says Elvis Presley would look like today at 88 years old. Apparently, the AI doesn't think that Elvis would have good dentistry because his teeth are completely jacked and the ones in the back are like totally rotten. I don't think that looks like Elvis Presley at all. That doesn't even look like a guy trying to look like Elvis Presley. It looks like a guy who went to the same barber as Elvis Presley, but that's about it. I don't know. Here, there's more. There are more pictures of what Elvis should look like. Boom. Look at that. There's a better one with the that doesn't look like Elvis. I mean, Elvis is such a recognizable person. Well, he's older. No, I know. But even when you see people who are much older than what they were, I mean, they still look the same. You can still see it in them. I do not see Elvis at all in here. I see maybe a little Johnny Cash. You know, I don't know. I don't see Elvis. Do you? Am I crazy? Doesn't look like him to me. How about this one? He looks like, you know what he looks like? You know who he looks like here? Skinny John Goodman. Have you seen John Goodman in The Righteous Gemstones? He's like lost a lot of weight. John Goodman has lost a lot of weight. This looks like skinny John Goodman. Doesn't look like Elvis at 88 years old. John Goodman needs to gain the weight back. John gets these people and they lose the weight and they don't look at that. What's going on with Elvis? By the way, that's the other thing. Elvis would be really fat. Elvis was getting really fat. This guy doesn't seem to be, Elvis was a big old boy. All right, that's going to do it. That's what they saying. They're saying that Elvis would look like that. I skipped over a story that I wanted to do, or I accidentally. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I wanted to do this story. I found it. I skipped over it. I don't know why I skipped over it. It should have gone right after Texas Pornhub laws. All right, so it is September 1st. What does that mean? Well, here in Texas, it means that there are 774 new Texas laws that go into effect Friday. What the hell are they? We need 775. I thought that this was a government. I thought one of the good things about this far-right conservative Texas red government, I thought one of the good things was that they weren't going to meddle and they weren't going to make a whole bunch of unnecessary laws. Well, it's September 1st, and there are 774 new restrictions on us, the citizens of Texas, that go into effect. by this government that professes a dedication to liberty and freedom and all the things Texas. 774 new laws. All right, so we're not going to go through 774 of them, but we are going to talk about some of the new ones, and I'm going to tell you whether I agree with them or whether I don't agree with them. Or I'll tell you, should this be a law? Or is this just, shut up, it's common sense, stop it. Fortunately, nothing is common sense anymore. All right, here we go. Let's go through. What are some of the laws? Hold on. All right. All right, here we go. All right, so here's a new law that goes into effect today. House Bill number 3, school safety requirements. All schools in the state of Texas require an armed officer at the school campus. House Bill 3 requires an armed officer at every school campus in Texas and mental health training for school staff that interact with children. The armed person can be either a peace officer, which is, I think, what we would all prefer, a cop. The armed person that must be on campus at all schools can either be a peace officer, a school resource officer, which is the same thing, when that's fine, a school resource officer, a school marshal, I like that one, or a school district employee. The janitor. You're going to allow the janitor to be armed up because, that makes sense. Because a guy who's 55 and a janitor in a middle school has obviously shown that he makes the right decisions in life. Come on. This law is nonsense. Sure, school resource officer, fine with that. An off-duty police officer looking to make a little bit extra money, I'm fine with that. Maybe somebody, a marshal, a marshal, yes, fine with that. And then they go, or anybody else that cashes a check from the school district. Oh, come on, man. That's stupid. That's dumb. That's a dumb law. And these are the laws that I always tell you about these loopholes. These laws are designed with loopholes specifically to allow people to exploit them. That's the behind the scenes handshake between legislators and people who are trying to make a quick buck. Happens all the time. Look at the situation with people who want to get high legally in the state of Texas. It is completely legal to get high in the state of Texas and to walk into a store and buy some marijuana that is going to knock you on your ass. Completely legal because there's a loophole in the hemp law that allows for it. All of these laws, man, we think that's a good law. No, these laws are almost all 700. How many people got paid off on 774 new laws that the Texas legislature put in? And by the way, I come from Illinois. That's a Democratic legislator. And that is one of the most That is one of the most corrupt organizations in the history of the world. So this is not me pointing fingers at the red text. I'm talking about politicians in general. These laws are nonsense. All right, here's another one. Limiting the power of big cities. House Bill 2127 prevents cities and counties from enacting local laws that go further than what's allowed under broad areas of state law. The Republican-backed law is the culmination of a year-long effort to rein in progressive policies in the state's larger populated urban areas. So it's this law is designed to limit the voice of the people. That's what it is. If there's more people there and more people think it should be this way, that's democracy. So now we got a law here that's going to, and by the way, that's fine. Right now it's being done by red to quiet the blue, but it's a law. So at some point it'll be the blue quieting the red. Can of worms. Just open cans of worms with this BS. Redefining fentanyl deaths. House Bill 6 here in Texas classifies overdoses from fentanyl as poisonings, which mean any Texan who provides someone with a fatal overdose of the opioid could face a murder charge. Yeah, that's fine by me. That is exactly the kind of thing. Everybody clutching their pearls about the opioid epidemic. We start making it a capital crime to be involved. Because here's how fentanyl gets in the... It's not people aren't doing... Dude, let's get some fentanyl and do it. Fentanyl is being cut into cocaine and other drugs so that they can sell more of the cocaine, right? It's filler. It's like breadcrumbs in a meatball. You get a meatball, it's not all meat. There's a whole bunch of breadcrumbs in there, maybe some egg, whatever it is, to make it bigger than it otherwise would be if it was just meat. That's what happens when you buy cocaine. You get yourself a little baggie and you're like, look at all this cocaine. Well, half of it is something that's being cut. Now, it used to be baby laxative. That's why people who did cocaine always had the shits the next day. They would cut it with baby laxative and snort it up and, oh, this is great. Not pure, straight coke. So for some reason, and I don't understand this because I'm not in the drug game, but I don't understand why they started using fentanyl to cut cocaine. It's dangerous. It brings more heat. Actually, I think this law is good. I think that this attacks the drug dealer at the street level who is literally selling. See, the fentanyl problem with cocaine is because coke dealers are trying to make more money off of their brick of cocaine than the brick of cocaine, if it was legitimately parsed up, would allow. And so they are actively mixing. It's one thing that they're breaking the law as drug dealers, but now there's a whole other thing. There is a plan. It's by design to cut their cocaine with something that could possibly kill people, but probably won't. So let's do it anyway, because I'll be able to sell an extra 20 bags off this brick if I use it. Those people are now going to be charged with poisoning, and they will face murder charges. And I actually think that that is fine. That is absolutely a great way to do it. Addressing the power grid issue. This is House Bill 1500. I just don't have the energy to get into that one, so we're going to move. Restricting trans athletes in college sports. Texas Senate Bill 15 prohibits transgender athletes from competing on college teams that match their gender identity. The law extends an existing restriction on K through 12 athletes that requires students to play on a team that matches their sex assignment at birth. I wish this didn't have to be a law, but it is a law, and I support it. Support this law. I also support trans individuals and their ability to just live their life any way they want. Problem is that when you living your life the way you want, somehow adversely affects the life of others. And this has been my position the whole time. Men are better athletes than women. It's not a chauvinistic point to take. It's that competition, at least in the main sports, is oftentimes about brute force, strength, and speed. And the male gender has those more so than the females do. Their bodies, male bodies, are designed differently. They're wider, they're more dense, stronger, able to withstand more damage. It's because men are, look, I don't want to go into the anthropology of it all, but that is a fact. So when somebody who has that physical advantage biologically from birth decides that because of whatever's happening in their life, and God love them, I hope they figure it out, they decide that they want to become something else, great. You do you, you have your thing. But the minute that person decides, you know what, I feel like I want to swim against chicks now that I'm a chick, or I feel like I want to do a weightlifting contest against another, what? That's where my level of compassion and empathy for somebody going through something that I don't completely understand. That's where it ends. That's where it ends. I got to go look. How about this? What if we were to do this? Wouldn't this be fine? You know, I'm fine with this. I am fine with this. Why don't we just have trans sports? And if there's enough of you to support a team in your community, you get a team. If not, you know, what can I tell you? You're a unique individual, and that's sometimes a handicap. There's nobody for you to play football with because you're one of only 4 or 5 trans people in the school, and only 2 of them want to play sports. Point is this: biological women compete in sports. We have to support that. I don't have to like the WNBA, but we certainly should support women having their fair shot at sports and playing their games and all that stuff. They work hard, just as hard as men, to achieve greatness in their talent level. And then when you drop a dude in there, it's just, man, it's like, it's unfair. It's unfair. And it's not, I'm not being intolerant. I'm trying to be reasonable. I'm trying to even look at the girl who comes in second place, who's like, you know, I should have won this. I should have gotten the college scholarship. I should be the one that's up on the podium getting the medal around my neck, but I'm not, because this person who until about 18 months ago was walking around and dunking on the men's basketball team is now swimming in the lane next to me. I just think that's unfair. I just think it's unfair. And I think it's a bad look for the trans community. I think the trans community should openly acknowledge this and say, you know what, we would advocate for some third type of sports where just gender people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how. Again, it goes back to, well, are there enough to even justify that? Probably not. So then someone going through that unique situation doesn't get to play. I'm sorry. You don't get to play. You can go back to playing. You can be trans. Okay, so be trans and go play on the men's team. That's fine. Go do that. You can still play, but they don't want to do that because oftentimes in these kinds of conversations, I don't think the trans community is being reasonable. I don't think they are giving one iota to the rest of the country, certainly the people like myself who are trying. We're going, this is new. Will you acknowledge this is new? I mean, as far as you being comfortable talking about it openly, this is new. There's not like you can't point to some, a whole class of people from the 1980s that were the trans folk. You can't do that. This is all relatively new. So bear with us as we try. People born in my generation try to sort of, new world, not mine. You guys do you. But they're not willing to do that. Trans community is always, if you have any questions about any of the things that are happening, you are an intolerant bigot, you are anti whatever, and okay. So, okay, keep trying to find allies and have that position. It's just going to be you and a bunch of other crazy people, because any of these issues, these provocative, polarizing issues that we have today, both sides, you need to reach us in the middle. You need to meet the reason somehow, but they don't want us because, whatever. Here's another one. Let's see. We're going through these laws. New laws on the. Whoa! What just happened here? There we go. Regulating sexually explicit performances. Senate Bill 12 aims to restrict certain drag shows and other performances from being shown in front of children. But a federal judge on Thursday temporarily blocked it from being enforced, saying that it likely violates the First Amendment. A final judgment is expected from the judge in the coming weeks. Texas is likely to appeal the decision. The law aims to criminalize businesses that host sexually explicit shows and performers who wear certain prosthetics and dance suggestively in the presence of minors. Okay, so let's break it down because there's a whole lot there. I 100% endorse a law that says you cannot have a sexually explicit show in front of minors. Endorse that. Totally good with that. As a matter of fact, I assume that had been the law my entire life, because when I was 14, I probably would have loved to have gone to a gentleman's club, but I didn't because I was 14 and I knew, was there not a law? Could I have just walked in? Okay, so here's where we get into the problem with this. I support it. You are right. If that is your main contention, that children should not be seeing sexually explicit shows, and certainly proprietors of said shows should not be turning a profit off of showing it to children. We get that. We all agree with that. But how are you defining a sexually explicit show? Because this is where it gets squirrely. Like, notice this is the drag ban. Notice drag is not mentioned anywhere in the language of this bill. The language says the law aims criminalize businesses that host sexually explicit shows and performers who wear certain prosthetics and dance suggestively. What does that all mean? Certain prosthetics. What, are you just leaving that up for interpretation? Is that a big nose? What is that? Is that like a butt prosthetic? I don't get it. But certainly, if these drag shows, and I don't know what's going on with these drag shows. I've never been to one. I mean, I've seen drag performances and stuff, but that was years ago. I think it might have changed. And changed because it's in the spotlight now, and it seems to be. So, like, you see these, like, drag brunches. Like, there was a video that was circulating of a drag brunch. It was a brunch at a restaurant. And there was like a little girl who was sitting in like a chair, the chair that, like, say the groom might sit in at a bachelor party. And this little girl was having this drag performer dancing on her. And that video went viral, and everybody's like, this is what's happening at drag shows. Well, if that's what's happening at drag shows, then yeah, get that shit out of here. whoever that drag person was who was grinding on like a 6-year-old in a chair. Yeah. Now I understand that might be an outlier. That might just be one piece of video that one person found, and now the right had grabbed it and they're showing it as an example of what happens at every drag show. I don't know. But if that's what drag shows are, that was very sexually explicit. And there were little kids walking around. They were all dressed up like, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Who is for this? All right, here we go. Here's another one. Restrictions on transition-related care for children. Senate Bill 14 prohibits transgender youth from receiving puberty blockers and hormone therapy. Medical professionals who prescribe these two transition-related treatments used to treat gender dysphoria and alleviate associated mental health issues will lose their license to practice. The law is being challenged in court. Oh, F this. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is the government saying they know more than your doctor. This is exactly the argument that the conservative right used against Obamacare. And now in the state of Texas, this is exactly what they're doing. That look, I don't know. Do I think that there should be 10-year-olds getting puberty blockers? Of course not. Of course not. If you are 10 years old, you don't know. That's what puberty is about. You go through puberty and you find out who you are on the other side at 13. So this idea, yeah, that shouldn't be done. But here's the problem. I'm an idiot. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the individual situations are between this patient and the doctor. There might be more complicated shit than I have any ability to comprehend. So this is where I get pissed at these kind of things. Restrictions on transgender-related care. Fancy name. What it means is they're threatening doctors. They're threatening doctors, and they're telling them, regardless of what your education has told you is the best course of treatment for your patient, we, the elected rabble-rousers, are saying no, and you could lose your license to practice. That's absurd. This is absolutely absurd. And notice, I didn't even really get into the whole issue at hand, because the issue at hand about whether or not these kids should be changed, that's not the big issue. The big issue is government saying that they're going to strip your doctor of his license if he treats you to the best of his abilities, the abilities that he understands, that you choose. I get to choose my doctor. You don't get to tell me that my doctor is doing something wrong. If I am with my doctor and I start to go, it doesn't seem right, then I'll get a different doctor. My God, it was just like 15 years ago where it was all about, get out of my doctor's office. How dare you? How dare the government death panels? They got to have death panels now. I mean, it was so mad. And now look, this is my problem. I don't get political. But man, it really doesn't seem like conservatives are conservative anymore. It certainly doesn't. You know, when I used to think, John McCain would make a good president. When I was like that guy, I was like, man, here's the thing about the conservatives. They're reasonable. I don't recognize that anymore. So now I am back solidly in the middle going, Jesus. And it's because of stupid shit like this. Complete change from just a couple of years ago where no one in the government, no bureaucracy should ever get in between you and your doctor. Well, here we are in the state of Texas. We got a new law. Thankfully, did somebody step in on this? Yeah, it's been blocked. No, wait, this one has not. Okay, restrictions on transition-related care for children. Senate Bill 14 prohibits transgender youth from receiving puberty blockers and hormone therapy. Medical professionals, this is the real problem with it. Medical professionals who prescribe these two transition-related treatments. Medical professionals who know better than the person who just wrote the sentence. Medical professionals, if they do what they think is best, they could lose their license. That's the problem I have with this one. All right, I don't want to get any more. Are there any more good ones? Let me see. There's a couple more here. It changes the university tenure policy. They want to be able to fire at will professors who, say provocative things that make their students think. Let's see. Oh, here's a completely huge waste of time, but it's a new law, folks. Hey, guess what? COVID-19 mandates have been banned in the state of Texas. COVID-19 mandates. You know, the thing from 3 years ago. So like whatever the next COVID, like let's say there's a COVID thing that sweeps the country. Okay. So, you know, it could be the exact same thing, but it's not going to be called COVID-19, right? If it happens in like 2 years, it'll be called COVID-25. So you see what Texas did? They wrote a law that says that any diseases that spring from the, 2019, there can't be any. Well, that's never going to happen again. We're never going to have that. And this is the giant loophole here. So that when COVID-25 starts sweeping the country, there could still be mask mandates. They've allowed themselves the loophole because this is just about COVID-19, and they're putting it out there so that all of the people that they've ginned up over the last couple of years go, see, that's why we like them. Because these people don't realize that the 19 was the year, that there's never going to be a COVID-19 again. That's why we have the subvariants. That's why they always get different names, because it's a mutation. The particular one that we all had the problem with was COVID-19. That's gone now because it's 2023. It was 4 years ago. But we got a law now. We got a law now in the state of Texas. They wasted our time. We got a law now. Should we build a time machine and we go back to 2019? And hey, I want to watch a video with you guys. You guys want to watch a video? We got a couple of minutes here. Oh, crap. We're not going to be able to do it. Oh, my goodness. Well, I apologize. I'm sorry. Did I get you excited? I wanted to show you a video. I wanted to do a video breakdown, but yeah, can't do that. All right, folks, look, that's going to be it. We're going to end the show here. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a fun week. I want you to have a safe and awesome Labor Day weekend. I'm going to have fun. We're going to Lake tomorrow. Sunday's probably, I like about Sundays and weekends with my kid. Sundays are like lay around days. Sundays are like lay around. Maybe we go to the park. We throw the baseball around. What's the weather going to be like this weekend? Guys, it has been beautiful. I know it's been... No. Well, the weather's going to be like 99 degrees. I know, right? Like, that's beautiful. Bum, 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 bum. All right, there you go.
I have got my poetry. I have got my songs. To see me through the lonely nights.
All right, guys. It's going to be hot this weekend, but it's not going to be 110, which is nice. Help the show if you can. We didn't make it this month. So, if you've enjoyed any of this week's show, treat me like I'm your bartender. Treat me like I'm your whatever. Drop a little something in the something jar. You see the Venmo and the Cash App options right there. It'd be greatly appreciated. Love you all. Have a good weekend, and I'm going to get out of here. Is there anything else? Oh, like, follow, subscribe, because big breaking news over the weekend. I'll jump in and try and, that's about it. All right, I got nothing else. All right, love you guys. Thank you again. This show is produced by Mama Beller and, of course, Leslie C. Man, that's great. I didn't see us. I don't think we got any tips today, but that's okay. Keep us in mind over the weekend because we need your help to continue this kind of non-divisive, non-political, straight talk, fun talk. Every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. I'm Pugs Moran. Have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. See ya.
That is all I need. I don't need no 401. I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. good. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest. I have got my poetry, I have got my songs. To see me